swing of the right leg, and we're underway.
Here we go.
You know what time the game starts? All right, here we go, fellas. Let's have a little fun today. Is anybody else tired, or is it just me? I got some advice for y'all. Take 2 weeks off, then quit.
From the goal line to 5 to 10 to 15. Through a hole to the 20, to the 30, outside to the 40. He may be gone. Midfield to the 40, the 30, the 25, 20, the 10, 5. Touchdown for Desmond Howard.
What's happening, Packers fans? Welcome into another edition of PWW Live. I am joined by, once again, Ryan Bowman, the founder of Packers Worldwide. Ryan already asked, he's like, dude, did you fly or drive down to New Orleans? I said, Ryan, we just hightailed it down right after the Sunday night game the other night. So we're living large down here in Baton Rouge, and it's been fun. What's going on with you though, Ryan? How's Canada?
PWW Live on the scene. You know, Matt Freilich repping the beat there. I love it. Yep. Canada's good, man. It's fall here. The leaves are turning, which is like that feeling that, you know, football season is here. That's kind of like the most exciting part of fall for me is new football. We got a football game tonight. We got a football game to talk about. We got a football game on Sunday. So yeah, I'm just excited that, you know, we're 2 weeks in. The league hasn't been shut down yet. No COVID cases. Like we're just rolling. So that's exciting. And I mean, coming off last weekend, I mean, can't feel much better going into week 3.
Totally agree. I mean, we had a violent thunderstorm here just a few minutes ago. I thought it was going to be picked up on the microphone here, which thankfully it hasn't. Leaves are falling in Green Bay as well. There was football played in Titletown this last week, and apparently there's a ton of people out. I was not one of them, stayed home. But speaking of that game, we did have another divisional matchup. Week 1 was obviously the Vikings getting slaughtered by the Packers in that young secondary, but we also had the Detroit Lions came to Lambeau Field, and Packers, it was a similar game as week 1 to me, Ryan. Maybe I'm wrong, but it was a 42-21 beatdown of the Detroit Lions. What are your takeaways from this game? I mean, am I wrong saying it was very comparable first half and second half as the first game? Because maybe that's just a too far of a perspective out to be like, okay, they got out to a slow start, the run was established, and then all of a sudden the Packers blew it out, or is that just kind of a stupid take?
So no, I don't think it's a stupid take. I think there's elements of truth to that where, like, coming out, they were not very strong, especially on the defensive side. I mean, I sent out a tweet that said, you know, the more defense changes, the more it stays the same, at least in that first half. And I think the parallels are there. They started off slow offensively. The defense wasn't able to stop any kind of run game. I mean, the Lions are out in front 14-3, and you're thinking, this is going to be that Lions game again, right? Where are we even leading at any point in the game? Is it going to come down to a last second field goal? But I will say this, that the Packers really turned it around in the second half. Unlike in Minnesota, where they did have the slow start, they started pulling away, but they were not able to do the kill shot. They were not able to keep their foot on the gas offensively or defensively. And one of the things that I liked the best was, hey, the Packers won the fourth quarter. They won 8-7, even after being up that many points. So at no point did they, you know, kind of go back to that, you know, prevent vanilla defense. They did call up some pressures. They did get a little bit more creative than maybe they did week 1, way less vanilla for sure. And all that being said, Kenny Clark wasn't in the game. So without him in the middle, kind of manning the front, I think they were going to be hard pressed to stop the run and perform at an elite level. But, you know, Jair Alexander, what a freaking game. I know you don't really see much on the stat sheet there, but like that play where they throw a quick screen. Why does anybody throw a quick screen to Jair Alexander? Like, I just don't understand. It's on film. It's on highlight reels of hilarious plays where he's just destroying the whole thing, yet people still continue to do it. So, you know, I really liked the way that game went. I thought offensively, you couldn't really rebound better than they did in the second quarter on. And, you know, the defense did what it had to do. And my man, Rashawn Gary, okay, he is by the way, he's got the most pressures, he's got the most sacks, he's got the most QB hits, and he is balling out. So my 8 sack prediction, he must have heard it, and he must have said 8 sacks, Ryan Bowman. Like, we're going for 10 plus the way he's rocking. So, man, I just love seeing that draft class start to really make its mark on this team. And that was always going to be the biggest improvement, not a wide receiver in round 1. So what did you see out there?
No, good takes. I mean, I was, leading up to the game, I talked about a few times just concern over stopping the run game of the Detroit Lions, specifically Adrian Peterson, what he's done in the past. Thought he would have a little bit more of a vendetta, if you will, against the Packers, kind of just to prove them wrong once again. That didn't happen. He was limited in carries. DeAndre Swift wasn't doing anything, and Kerryon Johnson ended up being the lead back in that game, which I thought was strange. I expect TJ Hawkinson to get what he was getting early on. I expected that to keep going, but without Kenny Galladay in there, it was a little tougher, so it made it a little bit easier. But run defense. I keep saying that. I mean, it's something's got to give at some point, I hope, and we'll see what happens this week. But you mentioned Kenny Clark. Got to talk about the injury report that came out obviously yesterday on Wednesday. All signs were good for Kenny today. He was limited in practice. He actually did practice. It's important to mention Billy Turner practiced last week, wasn't active for the game as well. You would easily make the argument defensive line is a little bit thinner than the offensive line. Therefore, you could risk probably having Billy Turner sit out, and he's not even as good of a player as Kenny Clark. No shock there. But other than that, the Saints are a little bruised up here, Ryan. We have Michael Thomas still. He did not practice. More than likely, he's not going to play in this game we expected. But also the Packers did have Adams limited in practice with a hamstring. We're still tending that. Josiah DeGuara, who I was excited to see this last week, he never played because of his ankle injury he sustained in week 1. Mercedes Lewis, not injured, gets the veteran rest. He deserves it. He what did he lead the tight end?
His dues, he doesn't. What is Mercedes Lewis going to do in practice that he hasn't done a million times in his 16-year career? I think he's going to be fine.
And then J.K. Scott was out for practice on Thursday for personal reasons. Embrace debate. Was he in detention, suspension, didn't get his homework done? What's your thoughts that way?
I'm going to say he was jaywalking on his way to school, and, the patrols must have reported him or something along those lines. But yeah, no, he shouldn't even be out past 6 or 7 o'clock, I would think would be his curfew, right?
On a school night, absolutely not. We got a comment coming in here from our buddy Carlos, fan of the show. Dean Lauer needs to be benched. Carlos, on any other team, you're right. But who the hell do they put in besides that?
Well, and that's the problem, right? Like Tyler Lancaster got injured in the last game. We've got Kingsley Keke, but there is not a whole lot of bodies up front for the Packers to rotate in there. I mean, Snacks Harrison is still out there, and for whatever reason, it's got to be that he doesn't know if he's going to come play this year. I really, really thought after week 2, when those salaries were no longer guaranteed, that's when we would see it. That would be like a classic Ted Thompson / Brian Gutekunst move. But yeah, the Packers have made an offer, and he's sitting at home on Twitter. He's rocking on Twitter, and
that's the thing. I feel like he just likes to have his name trend on Twitter once a week for the last 3 or 4. Like that's what Damon, he likes it. And I wouldn't blame him. If he got nothing else going on, he's probably just hanging out at home. He has no intention of playing this year. Like, you would think at this point he would have signed a contract if he was serious. Why would you wait any longer? But I don't know.
You never know. Like Jared Valdir went and had that workout with the Cowboys, and instead of playing for the Cowboys, he chose to retire, which is a very wise decision on his part. But, I really hope that there's this earmarked week that the Packers have said, hey, Snacks, week 4, we're going to bring in or something along those lines because we need him. If Kenny Clark can't go again this week, that's going to be tough against the Saints. Alvin Kamara is no joke, and they need bodies up front. So, whether he goes or not, I think Mike Pettin is going to have to dial up some run blitz pressures early. You can't just go vanilla against that team because Drew Brees is just too good. Michael Thomas or not, he's just too good and will pick that vanilla defense apart. So I hope they come out with something really creative. I wonder, instead of deferring, if they win the toss, if they take the ball first, just to, kind of let Mike Pettin figure out what he wants to do and how he wants to attack him. But I think it's going to be a good game. Kenny Clark or no.
So let's get into this matchup. Obviously, it's going to be in the Mercedes-Benz Dome where I am right now. SNF. I love Sunday Night Football, man. Like, it is this emotional roller coaster, though, because I wake up in the morning and I'm like, it's football Sunday. So I'm scrambling. I'm trying to get laundry done. I'm trying to get me set up for the week so I can just sit on my ass for 12 hours and not be irresponsible. And so, like, usually it's throughout the day. I'm watching the noon games, the 3 o'clock games, and checking fantasy. Right now I'm 0-2, so it's not going great. But it's like, then after those 6 o'clock games get done, it's that 45-minute lead up where it's just like pregame. You're hearing who's in. Is DeGuara going to be in? How's Adams' hamstring? Like, all this stuff. And it's just anxiety, and I can't wait. And then all of a sudden it's kickoff, and you got the broadcast. You got Collinsworth sliding in, doing his thing. And I'm pumped. I love Sunday Night Football, and it's a great matchup. You go ahead and you talked about Kenny Clark and that run defense. I mean, this is one of the games we highlighted, Ryan. Many of them throughout this year. They're going to need to have run defense against some of these teams.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the best defense is a good offense so far for the Packers, right? If you can make that team one-dimensional and get away from their heavy formations, I mean, that's really their best chance of stopping the run right now, is to put teams into a situation where running the ball doesn't make sense game flow-wise. So, I think that they do get some support. I wonder if Raven Green is going to be back into the lineup. He was a limited participant. I thought he was active last week, but didn't see the field. Will Redmond played pretty darn good in that linebacker role, by the way. So maybe it's not that big of an upgrade, even if Raven Green comes in, because I thought he played very well. So yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be tough for the Packers to win this game if they can't stop the run and if they don't get out to a big lead.
I totally agree. And like, I heard a stat on what night did the Saints play? Was it Monday night this week? Maybe, or Sunday night? It doesn't really matter. Heard a stat earlier in the week, and they were talking about how Drew Brees, I think, has like 2 completed passes right now over like 10 or 15 yards on the season. I know the season's young, but I mean, I watched some of the highlights the next day. I watched the whole game, but I watched the condensed version of the highlights, and like every single completion he had was under 10 yards. And I'm assuming Mike Pettin's going to be prepared for that, I hope. And whether that's maybe not bringing as much pressure, dropping back in coverage and zone, making him, whatever the case may be. I don't know how he runs his defense or how you would, you counter to that, but I think you have to be aware of the running attack between Latavius Murray and Alvin Kamara. Both are very different. Both are dynamic, but both are explosive. Like, they're both impactful dudes, and got to stop the run first and foremost. But after that, like, it's maybe Taysom Hill hurts you here or there. Maybe Jared Cook gets out after it, but like, really, like, that's it. Traquan Smith's solid. Emmanuel Sanders did nothing. Like, they got to attack you somehow. And I feel like there's a decent opportunity that Sean Payton will come after Pettin's defense. Like, I think he could screw him up with Taysom Hill. Weirder things have happened when the Packers go up against someone that's a little bit, colorful on offense or special teams.
Yeah, I think the craziest thing that could happen to trigger Packers Twitter would be like a Taysom Hill throw to Emmanuel Sanders for a touchdown or something, right? Like you should have signed Sanders, we should have kept Taysom Hill. That crowd will just go absolutely bonkers. So I kind of want that to happen just to see the world burn. Sure. But outside of that, I mean, I'm not super scared of the Saints offense, to be perfectly honest with you. I think they'll be a good offense that can move the ball, but without Michael Thomas, like, it's going to be tough for them. That secondary of the Packers is really good, and Jair can easily cover Emmanuel Sanders. Like, he locked him down in Denver. Yeah. Sanders didn't really do much of anything when he was with San Francisco against the Packers in the playoffs. So that's a really good matchup that I like. And then, I mean, Kevin King on the other side, like, they don't have outside of Alvin Kamara, a ton of weapons that really make me say we've got to plan our game around this. So I think Mike Pettin will actually have the opportunity to kind of load that box and rely on the talent in the backfield to cover up maybe a lack of talent on the outside for New Orleans. But like, don't get me wrong, Drew Brees can cut it up. I think you have to get after him. You got to make him uncomfortable. It's going to be incumbent on the defense to really dictate to them while Michael Thomas is out. We'll just see how they want to attack us. I imagine if they come out running heavy and we can't stop that early, it's going to be tough. Like I think the Packers win this game. I think they can go on the road and beat the Saints, but it's really going to be dependent on those key factors.
So let's look at the defense and Gary Beatty, big fan of the PWW Live, PW halftime hits chiming in here. Both defenses are suspect and should be a shootout. Personally, like the Saints defense to me has always been good. Now, did they get exposed this last week? Absolutely. Did they look like trash? Absolutely. There's been many people, Saints fans included, beat writers out of New Orleans saying that Malcolm Jenkins might have had his worst game of his entire career. Like, and I watched some of those highlights, like he was getting sucked inside, just, it was ugly. But overall, like I would say the Saints on paper are one of the more talented defenses. Like I'm a huge fan of DeMario Davis, that secondary. Jordan. I mean, exactly. Like there's tons of guys that are just elite, especially in that secondary. I mean, we talked about Malcolm Jenkins, one bad game. I'm sure he'll bounce back. He's a vet. Maybe he's losing a step. Who knows? But Marshawn Lattimore, they got Janoris Jenkins. Like they got studs. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, I feel like is kind of the, he was drafted last year in the high, impact safety draft. And I don't know. I don't think they're that bad of a defense.
Davenport? I mean, isn't like
not worth the draft equity to trade up for him as they did. Didn't work out.
I am so happy that Brian Gutekunst was able to turn that pick, which ended up being Marcus Davenport, and everybody wanted the Packers and mocked the Packers to draft Davenport, and we got Jair and Darnell Savage out of that. So thank you very much, New Orleans, and hopefully thank you for another win this weekend. Hey, Gary's chiming in here again. Just an observation from Gary. Gary loves the show, and we love Gary. Please keep chiming in, Gary. One of the things, and I noticed this too, was that Rodgers used the middle of the field. This is a thing that he's shied away from for years, but it's just so comfortable for him now. The difference between how they're operating on offense and the clear understanding and comfort level that Rodgers has this year compared to when we started last year, it's night and day. And just those crossing routes all day long, like Detroit in man coverage was giving them up, and Rodgers wasn't hesitant to take them. I think that's one of the biggest things, is that in the past, he may have passed that up, tried to flush to the outside, find a bigger play where he's playing in the schedule of the offense. He's playing in rhythm. And if he can do that against the Saints, especially with the tight ends, where that's where the Saints got exposed the most, in my opinion, last game was tight end and in the middle of the field. And I think the Packers, if they can utilize Tyler Ervin in the middle of the field and the slot, maybe this is a Jay Sternberger bounce back game. I mean, rough outing for the young man.
Let's live up to some of this hype. Like, honestly,
I mean, here's my take on Jay Sternberger. Okay. Like lots of people have been, he's going to fucking ball out this year, and this is Jay Sternberger revenge season. But think about it realistically. The guy had barely a rookie year at all. He came in late in the season, limited experience, his second year jump where that off season is so critical, no off season. Right. And so I just think that's part of it. He's got to make those plays, though. I mean, I saw a graphic. I'm not sure if it was Ben Fennell or Dusty that was putting out a graphic that just showed the open real estate in front of him. And you got to think that's what he saw, right? Was just, this is a touchdown if I catch this ball and turn. And, well, you got to kind of catch the ball and then turn, for that to happen. So
take your time,
I expect there to be opportunity for him. I hope that the Packers actually go to him early just to maybe get the heebie-jeebies out and go from there. But, if Josiah DeGuara can play in this game, and Bob Tonyan, Mercedes Lewis, I expect those guys to get utilized in the middle of the field here today.
For sure. Before we transition to our next topic, talking a little money salary cap for this next offseason or even extensions, important to note, I read earlier this week, I think it's from Roto World, RotoWire, whatever it's called. Apparently Sean Payton kept the boys in Vegas on Tuesday morning, and they went over tape before they left town. So Sean Payton not happy with the results of his New Orleans Saints. Just, they said that they were very average, didn't live up to their expectations. So we'll see if that's good or bad for them. I would imagine it pumps them up a little bit. I mean, but playing without Michael Thomas, that's huge. And it's one of those games where you're going to look back on if the Packers do win, that towards the end of the year, even previewing after, you leave this year and you're talking about the season as a recap, like you're going to kind of remember, oh yeah, the Packers did win or they did lose and Michael Thomas wasn't there. And it's always kind of an asterisk game, but should be a good one. I'm super excited for it. Should be a good matchup, and always two teams that are super just competitive and two young coaches right now with some stud teams.
No excuses. We've got injuries too, right? Like we've got Kenny Clark probably not going to suit up, but I mean, maybe there's a chance. Devontae Adams is questionable. We've had our right guard out. And even if Billy Turner is healthy and able to play, Rick Wagner should be starting at right tackle. I just want to say that out loud.
I agree.
Put Billy in at guard and let Rick Wagner do it. Like his film has been outstanding for the first two games. It's almost like the Packers knew what the hell they were doing all along. But what do we got next, Matt? What's
next? Next, we're going to transition a little bit. It's been in conversation, especially over the last couple. I mean, it's always been in conversation the last few weeks, but it's even ramped up more. David Bakhtiari talking about the last couple days. Aaron Jones's huge production. He's leading the league in rushing yards right now. So, what the heck is Russ Ball going to do? Where's this money getting distributed, Ryan? How are we going to make this darn thing work? I saw an article today. I'm not going to say who, but they said moving Elton Jenkins to left tackle might be the best solution. I don't know if that's an option, but he could do it. I don't know if that makes sense. But where do the Packers sit right now with these two guys that you would think, can they keep both?
Can they? Absolutely. And David Bakhtiari knows that. He came out on that interview and he said, the Chiefs had like $700,000 in cap room, signed Patrick Mahomes to like the biggest deal ever, signed Tyreek Hill. They're spending money. Like if you want, and that was what the big news was, right? Everybody's looking at it as shots fired to the Packers, but I don't look at it that way. It's just, if you want to get the deal done, you can get the deal done, and you can move money around. You can extend guys. You can push money out if you want to. It's whether the Packers want to or not. And I think Bakhtiari gets done. I think this is all posturing. There's no real deadline now that the season has started, and I expect that to get sorted in the offseason. The Packers have the franchise tag they can use there. If Aaron Rodgers has 2-3 years left with the Packers, based on the timelines that we're seeing with Jordan Love, I can't imagine they're going to do that, knowing he's not going to be as mobile in those 2 or 3 years and not have a plan at left tackle that involves David Bakhtiari. If it's 2 years and they move on, I can't imagine they're going to put a young quarterback out there without a solid left tackle. So I think regardless of Rodgers, Love, the arc of the Packers, David Bakhtiari's got to be. You don't draft players, develop them, watch them become literally the best left tackle in the league, and then let them walk out the door. And if that means they don't sign Aaron Jones, that's what it means. If that means they don't sign Kevin King, that's what it means, because David Bakhtiari is a priority over all of those guys. I think really the only guy that was ahead of him in priority already got signed this year, and that was Kenny Clark. So
for sure. Good comment coming in from Carlos again. David first, being Bakhtiari, of course. Running backs are expendable. Love Jones, but we can't replace a guy like David. And I totally agree with you, Carlos, and I would probably agree with you. I mean, I've been saying this for a while. I don't think they sign Aaron Jones. I've just said that. I don't think it's smart to re-sign running backs now. Is he just a running back? Le'Veon Bell did switch that around, and he tried to. How did that work out for him?
Le'Veon Bell had never made a catch like that one Aaron Jones made in that game. That I've seen. So I think they can get Aaron Jones re-signed, but not if Aaron Jones wants an Alvin Kamara contract. And
that's the thing. And that's the thing. It's like, where's the market right now, right? You look at the CMC deal. You look at the Calvin Kamara. Wow, I can't talk today. Alvin Kamara deal, Joe Mixon deal. Now, I'm not sure if this helps the Packers financially to negotiate, but there's going to be a ton of running backs on the market in this next offseason. A ton of them. Really talented guys from this draft class and so on. So I would assume that brings the market, like it dilutes it a little bit. You would assume if there's more than 2 studs out there, there's 8, whatever the number is, you would imagine they're not as sought after. That's just basic supply and demand. I'm not an economic economist. Thank you. But I would say also, to your point, like Bakhtiari, re-signing him makes more sense because, and I've been running with this narrative for like 2 years now, they're in a 5-year deal or in a 5-year plan, and they need David Bakhtiari. And we got Carlos chiming in again. AJ Dillon drafted just in case Jones wants Alvin money.
Can't argue with that. I mean, listen.
Pretty good logic there from our buddy Carlos.
If Jones wants Alvin money, he can probably get it on the open market. Like somebody will pay him. But there has been interviews on his part over the offseason where like you can clearly see he wants to get it done. I can't remember which reporter asked in his latest media availability, but they said, like, does it irk you when you know you're the RB1 now, but you see other guys getting carries, like having to be on the sideline? And he said, absolutely not. Like, I know how this works. That's what kept me healthy last year, was the way that they utilized me. So does Aaron Jones think the best place for him is here in Green Bay? I hope so. And you know, before the season started, I was looking at that Austin Eckler deal as kind of that landmark, but that say goodbye to that. Aaron Jones, I mean, he just keeps proving that this isn't a fluke, right? And he is a weapon, but I think he's the most valuable to the Packers. You know, I don't think Aaron Jones is going to get the type of production that Aaron Jones gets if he goes to, you know, maybe Detroit signs another running back. I don't know. But, you know, I think what he can do in this offense, in this system under Matt LaFleur is like very unique to where he can be a wide receiver in that offense. And if you're going to use him that way, I say you pay him. I say you find a way to make it work. But there's still Corey Linsley and Kevin King out there too. So you're going to have to, you're not going to be able to sign all those guys. I think out of those 4, you're probably signing 2. One of them's got to be David Bakhtiari, and, you know, take your pick on the other 3.
I would agree. I mean, and to David's point that you mentioned that he talked about earlier this week, like if the Chiefs can get a deal done for Mahomes with having next to pennies, I mean, there's no argument anymore that you can't get something, you know, negotiated or someone take a pay cut or manipulate the salary cap. Ken Ingalls, fan of the show, friend of the show, might argue that, but I would imagine if you can pay $500 million for Patrick Mahomes when you're basically living on food stamps, you should be able to pay 2 studs in David Bakhtiari, Aaron Jones, and maybe even a third, like you mentioned, Kevin King or Linsley. But as we wrap up here, Ryan, make sure everyone's checking us out on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Obviously, all of our links, profiles are across the bottom banner there if you're watching us live on PWW Live. But let's finally, Ryan, TNF, baby. Thursday night football. We've had some classic Thursday night football matchups, and this is another one. Like, there's always these divisional games are with teams that'll finish 6-10, 5-11, and it's just like it's a slobber knocker every time. This one's different for me though, because I'm kind of invested in the Jags right now. I like Gardner Minshew. I think he's proven some people wrong. Minshew mania, unfortunately, and you don't get to see a lot of Jags games. Like I mean, I stream some games, so I'll catch games here and there, but like, I want to see Minshew. I want to see James Robinson, who is a fantasy sleeper of mine that I grabbed late in the draft, and he's been paying off. But I mean, I'm excited to see Laviska Shenault. I want to see Fitzmagic. I mean, maybe this is the time Tua finally steps in on the big stage. It is week 3. Like, that would be cool. That'd be cool. I feel like from we talked pre-production, I have a little bit more invested in interest in this game, but it sounds like you don't really give a shit at this point. You love football, and that's all that matters. Listen, I just love that football's on, and it's not shut down, and it's here. And you know what? Hey, I've got Myles Gaskin going for the Dolphins in one fantasy league, and I've got Keenan Cole as a flex player in another. So I like that play. I like that play with DJ out.
Absolutely. So, I've got some investment in it, but like you kind of said it, it's almost like they intentionally are like, it's the Browns versus the Bengals. It's the Jags versus the Dolphins. It's the Jets versus the
Bills. Jets Bills is always a Thursday night matchup.
The Bills might be good though, at least we can watch Josh Allen slaughter the Jets, because if you looked at the Niners injury report last week, like literally their whole freaking team was out, and they still kick the Jets' ass. Okay,
dude,
so the Jets are
team
bad.
is decimated. They have.
I feel so bad for them. Like
I kind of do, to be honest. I do in a sense. It's like, well, they have a good team right now, but like for the Packers to actually make a push in this NFC, they needed the Niners to take a step back, and significant steps back with elite players.
Garoppolo, Kittle, Mostert, like those four guys were the guys that wrecked the Packers almost, well, maybe not Jimmy Garoppolo. He threw like 6 passes or something in that game, but you know what I mean? Like their team now is a complete reversal of that NFC champion team that we saw last year. So I'm all about it. Listen, I don't ever wish for injuries. I don't ever celebrate injuries. Like I feel bad for guys, but looking at, the Niners not potentially be able to sustain that success, like I'm not sad about it. I don't like the Niners, so I'm okay with it.
That's fair. One last comment that looks like popping in here. Getting dogs out of the way early. Not sure what that means, Gary. Do you know what that means, getting the dogs out of the way early?
Like maybe like the tough opponents. Like, we've got these no fan games for New Orleans, for Minnesota. Like, just imagine.
Unless he's talking about the Thursday night games. He could be talking about those, like getting the bad games out. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Gary, you're gonna have to clarify that for us maybe next time, because you know what, kickoff's coming up here, guys.
Kickoff's coming off. We got to wrap up here, but as I said earlier, if you guys are listening to us on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, wherever you're listening, please subscribe, rate, review, share it with your friends. Of course, we're on social medias: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Check us out there. Ryan, where can people get a hold of you on Twitter at Perfect Segue? Your Twitter bio's just
beautiful. Look at that. It's just perfect timing, Matt. So you can get at me at Ryan Bowman, PWW. You can follow us at Packers_WW. Big thing we would love for all you guys to do is like and subscribe us on YouTube. We're trying to grow our subscriber base there. We're going to be doing a lot more live shows, and we got some pretty fun giveaways for our live watchers. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit the like button on this video so we can get some traffic there. What about you, Matt? Where can we find you?
Well, I thought you were gonna. That's why I was doing this. I was, our podcast listeners won't listen, but I thought you were gonna allude to the Jordan Love jersey. We're close, man. We're like less than 80 followers, couple retweets. Like it's been crushing it. Dwayne loved his face mask. So did Susanna. But like, someone needs this Jordan Love jersey, and we're getting there. Like I really want to hit it. I really want to hit it before. I think we hit it before Sunday Night Football, or at least at the halftime when we do the PWW halftime hits. That's probably when you guys will see us next. You can find me on Twitter at Matt_Frey_. You can hit up Ryan Schoberg at Ryan_Schoberg and Kieran Sprecher at Kieran Sprecher. I'm not going to spell those for you. You guys know where to find them. Connect with us on social media across all platforms. But we appreciate you watching. Go Pack Go. We'll see you on Sunday Night Football at halftime. But for Ryan Bowman, I'm Matt Freilich. We're out.
Now here's the run-up. Swing of the right leg, and we're underway.
Here we go.
You know what time the game starts? All right, here we go, fellas. Let's have a little fun today. Is anybody else tired, or is it just me? I got some advice for y'all. Take 2 weeks off, then quit.
From the goal line to 5 to 10 to 15. Through a hole to the 20, to the 30, outside.